Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of What's That?
Sister Chat plus Malcolm.
We have a little visitor today. Alrighty, guys. So on today's episode, we will be talking about the tea of the week, guys. Y'all know what I'm talking about? If y'all don't,
Malcolm sound like he know what we talking about.
you got all the tea, girlfriend, all of it. So we'll be talking about Jada and Will and August Alsina in their whole situation. Okay? So I just want to know what do you guys think? Like, what are y'all thoughts on everything that has come out within like the last week? Who wants to talk first?
Okay, so I guess I'll start. Wow, it was like a lot of information that came out like out of nowhere, kinda. It was like, hold on, wait, what? And then what? And then oh snap, entanglement. It got crazy. Okay. It got crazy. So I mean, I feel like none of us actually can really speak about like what our thoughts are because it's like their personal relationship and like they technically don't have to answer to us. Like they don't owe us an explanation or anything. Like if that's what y'all want to do, then get it how you live, you know? But also like if you put it out there, you know, you gotta answer when you put it out there. So now that it's out there, even though they weren't necessarily the ones to put it out there, I feel that they tried to take the reins and tell their own, like be the ones to tell their story instead of trying to have other people tell their story. So I can respect that they, you know, wanted to sit down and try to tell their own story. But even then that I think got a little bit tangled, twisted. It got a little twisted because now everybody's doing this whole entanglement thing and y'all the memes and I can't with the videos and
the t-shirts. I mean, it's lit.
Y'all, I said y'all know Black Twitter was gonna have a good time with this. Okay, and Black Instagram and Black Facebook and all the Black everything. Okay. So I can't wait to see the TikToks because you already know it's gonna be TikToks. So it's gonna be interesting. What about Cece? What do you think about all of this?
Well, I really don't know. Honestly, I was really like fascinated at first when the August interview first dropped. I texted y'all. I was like, y'all, did y'all hear? Now, the first thing I saw was this clip about Jada. And I thought that's what the interview was about. This man sat down for like an hour to talk about his life and the obstacles he's overcome and the situations he's been through. And he answered a single question about Jada Pinkett Smith, and that became the story, which I hate for him because I'm gonna be honest, I don't know his music. I still listen to 90s and 2000 music, so I'm a little bit behind in the R&B scene. So I didn't know his music at all, but listening to his interview, wow, like he has an incredibly inspiring and impactful story. So I kind of felt like a lot of that got lost in the drama of everything with the Smiths. So that was sort of my initial thoughts, and I'll let Shelly Shells jump in here.
So my thoughts on the whole Jada Pinkett Smith and August and Will basically is none of my business. Honestly, look, if that's how they get done in their marriage, so be it. That's not how I prefer to be in a marriage. That's not something I wouldn't willing to do in a marriage. However, again, it's not my business. They are all grown adults living their own grown lives. And I mean, it ain't my business. I mean, it was an interesting story to hear about, but it's none of my business. Let them live.
I gotta say, it's kind of funny because I hear a lot of people saying it ain't none of my business, and I get it. And with all the heaviness happening in the world right now, it was kind of nice to just have something to kind of gawk at and laugh at and memes to joke about. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that this is their real lives. And so for them, it was like a really big and serious moment. But it, like, I felt like it created some levity in the world at a time when we really needed it. So, in some ways, I'm like, you know what? I'm glad they made it our business because at least, I mean, I've been seeing the best memes. I mean, when we talk about people being creatives, could you imagine what the world would be like if people took those meme skills and applied them to other things, like that can make them real money and make real impact? Like, whoa! So,
you said those meme skills.
those meme skills, girl.
Girl, don't let them fool you. Okay, they making that money off of them memes. Will and Jada just made a lot of people in August, just made a lot of people some money off of those memes. And like you said, those t-shirts, they probably gonna have mugs. I'm about to go make a mug right now, okay?
Okay, head on over to Redbubble and see what me and Sharice create.
Yes, no, seriously, y'all just came up with a whole like idea. Okay, y'all want to hear it, or should I just make it? Y'all gonna buy
Let's
it?
just make it. We'll drop them in the description when it's ready to go.
It's gonna be lit, y'all.
The problem I had with the whole with the situation was, and I don't know if Jada was intentional or when she was saying this, but how that whole situation, she needed healing. And I just felt like I don't know if she used August for her way of healing or what, but that part right there was the part I was like, ooh, I don't like that. That doesn't sound right. Because if you're hurting because of what's going on in your marriage, you don't need to involve anybody else. Because that man, August, loved her. Like, he felt for her. That's the reason why he he wrote a whole song about her and he let all that stuff out. Like, and he's probably still hurting over that. You don't involve people when you're hurting. And I understand hurt people, and there's a process that she has to go through. And I mean, he was vulnerable too. He had his own issues going on. That whole part right there is what's really.
He was very vulnerable. I think you're bringing up a point that is very interesting. Like, I like talking about this particular situation in more general context. Like, what do you think about these types of relationship dynamics and all these things? But when we are talking about the actual humans involved, you're talking about a very young man who's dealing with drug addiction, and he's dealing with incredible amounts of loss in his family. And this family that embraced him and loved on him and were supposed to be helping him heal, that didn't sit well with me either, this idea that turned into a sexual relationship. And I think sometimes, I've read both sides of the argument, so I see how different people feel different ways about it. But I think it's interesting because we sort of see the red table talk, and the red table talk is no different than this, right? What we are doing right now is a bunch of people sitting together and having a conversation. I think sometimes people see Jada Pinkett Smith and they think, oh, she's this healed human and she's, almost a therapist or something like that. But in the reality of the situation is that she's just another woman going through her own life experiences. And so that pedestal that people seem to put her on, which is like beyond my understanding, and that's not a shade thing, it's very interesting to me. Just because she created a platform didn't necessarily mean that she was credentialed in a way that she would know how to behave in those situations. Because for me, I'm seeing this very young, wounded person that you're supposed to be healing. Ethically, I'm not allowed to have sex with my patients, but he's not her patient, he's not her client. And so there's this weird blurring of that relationship that I think was interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, I just think that it is definitely something that like if it wasn't Will and Jada and August, like names that are household names that you know, like would we be having these conversations? Because like, y'all, in many a place, there are people who are married to, there are polygamists, there are people who are married to multiple people. You know, they had the sister wives, and they have all these, you know. I know someone personally who has multiple wives, you know what I mean? And I know that that's a slightly different situation, because it's not like they were, you know, having, like, they weren't in one of those relationships where they had multiple like spouses. But it's, you know, it's not uncommon, honestly, y'all, for people to have, you know, like those kinds of relationships. But I guess it just brings into question more like what does that relationship, or what does a relationship, what are those boundaries? And I mean, like Shelly Shell said it earlier, like that's not the type of marriage that she would want. But they have called their relationship not a marriage. Like, right. You know what I mean? Publicly, they've said that. And so, you know, that's, you know, I think it's like sometimes we're putting on what our ideal relationship, or like what that looks like for us, and then putting that onto other people. And like, I don't want to prejudge them or judge them at all, because I'm like, you know, that's y'all's boundaries that y'all have created for your relationship or partnership, or, you know, whatever it is that you have. Like, that's not for me to decide. But I will say that all three of them looked very hurt during these conversations. And maybe it's just because they did. You didn't think that they looked hurt?
I think Will and August looked hurt.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that Jada just, you know, she might have like a little, I think she might have felt like she had to appear like, oh yeah, I'm strong, and I knew like this is what I have to stand for myself and explain myself. But I think like if you look at her, like in her eyes, she looked like she was a little, never mind. Y'all think she looked sad? I thought she looked sad.
You know, what I love about what you've described is what I like about this story, right? Because I don't care, and I don't mean this in any kind of a bad way, but I don't care what Will and Jada are doing in their marriage, right? Like, that's not important to me. But what I love is seeing some of the conversations that people are having about how to approach relationships. So funny, Teresa and I did a challenge with Tony Robbins not too long ago, and they were talking about Tony talked about the fact that nobody teaches you how to love. Nobody teaches you how to pick a partner. Nobody teaches you how to be in relationships. It's like something that we're all just kind of figuring out as we go in this life. And so I've really enjoyed some of the discourse around what about if you want to have a polyamorous relationship? What is life partnership? And what could that look like? And is monogamy the ideal way to have a relationship for you? You know what I'm saying? So I have enjoyed that part of the discussion a lot. I've been reading some interesting comments. So that part, I think, was the most fascinating for me.
And I think that it's like a lot of, I think it's kind of common actually in spaces in the entertainment industry as well. Just because one, the industry is so small, you might feel like you can't trust somebody who's not in the industry. And I think that's actually probably where why he kind of leaned into this family, because he was like, okay, they're in the industry, they know what it's like, they don't just want me for my money or my music or whatever. And I mean, he didn't say this, and I don't know that he said this or whatever. But, you know, like maybe that's what happened to where he fell into, like leaned into this family, and then all this other stuff happened. And, you know, like I know quite a few people, not that have been in entanglements, you know, like, but I know quite a few people that have, you know, dated the same person, or like been in, I guess, entanglement, like a love triangle, like that one knew that was with that one, and then that one happened over there, and you know, because people just trying to people are just trying to find love. That's the thing that people need. And that's, you know, we don't know how to love. We're not taught that. We're only taught what we see on rom-coms, right? Like on TV and on The Bachelor and stuff. Like, we're not taught in real life. That's something that we learn, like baptism by fire, you know, we learn while we're in it. So right. I mean, and it never stops. It's not like, oh, they've been married for how long? They've been married 30 something years, 20 something years, however long, 5 years. It doesn't matter. Like, it's something that's constantly evolving, like how you're loving, how you're showing love, how you need love. Like, you might need love in a different way now than you needed it 10 years ago. So, you know, like, I do think it's open to everyone to decide for themselves. But like, again, I ain't judging them. Let them do them.
All right. Well, I feel like y'all first time off the questions I wanted to talk about today. So I'm with y'all too. Okay, he's doing a lot. If y'all can see. But yeah, I don't want to judge them because I feel bad. Because Will looks really sad. Of course, August looks sad too. Imagine. Oh wow. Okay. Oh, imagine if y'all were in Will shoes, how would you feel? Would y'all stay? Would y'all go? What would y'all do in this situation?
Are we assuming that what they said at the table was the reality? Like that was the truth?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Are we assuming that what Will and Jada said at the red table was the situation?
No.
We're not?
No.
So okay, well.
Yourself in.
Go ahead.
I don't know, because that's a whole nother question. Ooh. Look, this entanglement got me confused, y'all, okay?
Can I just say something about entanglement?
Yes, somebody.
Y'all know this is going to be the word of 2020. We got like 3 words of 2020. COVID, BLM, and well, that's 3 words in itself, but y'all know what I mean. And entanglement, okay? Y'all know that's gonna be word. But like, with saying that doesn't mean that like we're hating on them, judging them, anything. I just think that she chose a poor choice of word, and you know that she chose a word that was so vivid, like you could just see things that you probably didn't want to see. And poor Will, he was just like, entanglement, like, what you mean?
It's funny because you say it's vivid, and I know what you mean by that, right? Because when you start to kind of dig into what an entanglement is, it sounds a little tangled, right? But I felt like she was purposely being vague, right? Like, I'm not going to call a horse a horse. I'm not going to say I was in a relationship with this man for several years and it ended badly. And you know what I'm saying? Like, entanglement was like, I felt like that was something she intended to say when she showed up, to be vague. Now, it got to be funny, right? Because people went off with it. But I mean, the intent there was to not be honest and real about what the status was, in my opinion.
I think she was being intentional. So that's why I say a poor choice of words, because she chose that word. Yep. You know, and that's why Will questioned her on it, like, hold on. Like, are we coming to the table to talk real? Are we coming to the table, like, is this a press release? Like a press conference, you know what I mean? Because like, I do feel that she was trying to, again, stand up for herself, but like, and come clean, but like in a very polished or like PR kind of way, which don't get me wrong, because you know PR is great, because I do PR, but like in a way that, you know, like just didn't feel honest and genuine, I guess, in that moment. So, but she definitely chose that word. But also she should have looked in the dictionary and looked at what that word could also, the thesaurus, and see what else that word could have meant. Because like, you know, people gonna start thinking, what else was like, who else was in the entanglement? Because you know, like all kinds of things. So I'm, you know, that's a little. I just think she should have picked a better word.
Shelly Shells, what do you think about all that?
No, I agree. I felt like she was very intent in how she was presenting the information, and it didn't come off genuine to me. It came off as a way for her to still look good, even though this wasn't a very, and you know, in most people's eyes, it may not be like, oh my gosh, you know how they have like relationship goals. Will and Jada, they were a relationship goal. So I think she wanted to keep that same polished look as far as their relationship without, like she didn't want to ruin that relationship. So it didn't really seem like didn't seem genuine to me. It seemed like she really chose her words. It didn't even seem like she was sorry for what she did. She made a lot of excuses about how, you know, she was on a healing journey. And maybe she's not sorry because she said she wasn't sorry. She said it was a journey and she's not sorry about her transgressions. And that's her. Hey, that's how she feels. That's how she feels. But it just, to me, it didn't seem very genuine. It just felt like she was, like Sharice said, a PR move to make her and, you know, them look good still. And it didn't come off like that to me. And I ain't into the entanglements at all. That ain't my cup of tea at all. Not my cup of tea.
Wow. So Sharice, you did touch on this. Since you are in the industry, you said you do know people in entanglements because this is what they do, right? That's what you said, right? You said that. Sharice got the tea. What's the tea, sis? You in the industry, like this is your industry.
Okay, I did not say, let me be clear, because I did not say that I knew people in an entanglement. I said, I know that this happens a lot, not entanglements, but relationships where people have dated other people that have been with the same people and mix and match and things like that. You know, like your socks, you mix and you match, okay? Like, but I didn't say that I knew other people that were in entanglements. And that, again, it's not my business. So the industry is it's a grueling place. You know, it's very easy for people to feel like, you know, that someone might take advantage. What people are taken advantage of all the time in this industry. And we saw the Me Too movement and all of that. So we know that people have been taken advantage of. And it happens often by people. And I'm not saying, okay, y'all do not try to don't try to mess up my words, okay? I'm not saying that Will or Jada did anything to August in that way, like anything that he didn't want or whatever. I'm not saying that, but it definitely happens a lot of times by people who you look up to that are like your mentors or like people that are supposed to be helping you. And then, you know, some kind of thing happens, sexual relationship happens, or maybe it's not a relationship, maybe that's not the right term to use, but like a sexual encounter happens.
Entanglement.
No, but not an entanglement, because an entanglement to me is the way she described entanglement. It sounds like something that both parties agreed to. And what I'm saying is that that's not something that happens, and that I can say happens a lot in this industry, is that people, to Cece's point, you know, sometimes people, like he was like seeking help, seeking this like a nucleus. He needed something around him, you know, to feel love. And then that something, that love that he was seeking went into a whole nother direction. And I think that we see that very often in Hollywood in particular, with people who are new to the industry that are like seeking that acceptance or love or help, or some people want to say they want to get to the next level or whatever, and then that happens. But that's not an entanglement. Entanglement, she's in a relationship with one person, and she decided to be in a relationship with another person. Like, that is, babe, you got two boos. Like, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know people like, I mean, I do know somebody who is married to multiple women, but that's not an entanglement to me. That's their choice. You know, that's their choice of how their relationship works. Does that make sense?
See, this is the issue with Jada choosing to be vague in her language. Now it creates some vagueness in the conversation, right? Like, all of a sudden you're like, is it an entanglement? Is it not? No, like, there are different types of relationships. There are non-consensual encounters, as Sharice described. There are these different things. And when you're trying so hard to present something as though it's not what it is, it only creates confusion. So I'm glad Will called her out on that. Like, okay, were you in a relationship or not? Because this is what happens when you try to have a conversation and you're like, is it an entanglement? Is it not? What does that even mean?
Right. And also, I mean, like they said they were, like, Will was like, you know, we were split up or whatever. They was going through whatever thing they was going through. And that happens a lot. Y'all, that happens in everyday life. Like, you know how many people probably in my building are in entanglements, if that's what an entanglement is, you know what I mean? Like, oh, y'all are on a break, so I'm gonna just go holla at what's the name over.
Right? How many break babies have we seen in the industry, right? Like, how many break babies do we see in regular life, right? Break babies are a thing. If they were really on a break. I'm not too sure if I believe that part of their story, but whatever.
Word, because he looked like he was crying a lot. His eyes, they were so, well, in August. Like, and I do feel bad that August's interview got boiled down to just this, because like people are missing the whole rest of the point, everything else that he was bringing up, everything else that, you know, around his life. Like, it's so crazy. Like, now his life, y'all, has been boiled down to this one moment in time, even though it was an important moment for him, but it's been boiled down to this one moment with Jada. And it's like, dang, like, he had a whole experience that he was explaining. But that's also the industry. That's why you know, maybe he knew that was gonna take off, and he wanted to be, you know, in the spotlight for a little bit or something again. I don't know, but I don't think that was his intention. I think that he was just trying to explain some stuff that happened in his life. And then, you know, Angela Yee is a great interviewer. She always got all the tea. Okay. So, hey, she just took it and went with it. And then the producers got it and said, hey, this is the story. The rest is history. And that will be in history books, and everything else about August Alsina probably won't. Unfortunately.
True. Well, you guys, maybe we won't fully know the truth about this entanglement and what it really consisted of. That's all we have for today, though. That's all I have. Do y'all have anything else to say about this situation, entanglement? What you have to say? Dada. Okay, maybe Dada is in the entanglement.
Malcolm came with the tea.
I think that Malcolm is telling us that all of the people that are watching should hit the subscribe button, and make sure that you join the sisterhood and watch all of the videos and all the conversation, because we always come with a good combo with the sisters during What's That?
Sister Chat.
Well, guys, that's all we have for today. So we'll see you soon. Peace.
Ciao.